Hey everyone, it's Martin and today we're gonna compare the cameras from these two Chinese flagship smartphones, the OnePlus 7 Pro against the Xiaomi Mi 9. Who will win? Let's find out. Let's get started. Let me get started with a brief summary for both phones regarding their cameras. So the OnePlus 7 Pro is equipped with 3 cameras, a standard 48 megapixel lens, an ultra wide angle lens at 16 megapixels and a 3x zoom lens at 8 megapixels. And the selfie camera is 16 megapixels. Now the Xiaomi Mi 9 sports a 48 megapixel camera as well, a 16 megapixel wide angle lens, and the zoom lens is 12 megapixels. Now the selfies are made at 20 megapixels. Now please keep in mind that both phones are updated to the latest software available and that all the photos and videos are taken at the exact same time, at the exact same location and with the same settings as far as that is possible. Now if we take a look at the first picture, we don't see a lot of differences between the two. Only if we zoom in at 400% there is something subtle noticeable, but it's just really small. This picture over here looks at first quite nice, but the moment you see the picture taken with the Xiaomi Mi 9, you can see that it has a difference in color temperature as well as the amount of contrast. The moment we go to the wide angle lens, you can see that the color temperature for the OnePlus 7 Pro is even more colder than the Xiaomi Mi 9. And if we zoom in at 400%, we can see that there's definitely some chromatic aberrations happening at the tree on the left side. But it's pretty well managed on the OnePlus 7 Pro, while on the Xiaomi Mi 9 there is, quite a little bit more noticeable. If we take a look at dynamic range, you can clearly see that both pictures look very similar, but the OnePlus 7 Pro wins over here because it can express and show more details in the picture. Especially if you look at the lower side of the picture on the Xiaomi Mi 9, it looks a little bit washed. But the moment we zoom in twice with the telephoto lens, the images looks very similar. The difference, however, comes when you take a good look at 400% at the menu card, because you can see that on the Xiaomi Mi 9 you can easily read it, while on the OnePlus 7 Pro it looks a little bit blurry, and that's the same with the card at the rear of the image. That issue is mainly on the OnePlus 7 Pro because it has some focus issues, which I already mentioned in my OnePlus 7 Pro review, linked here in the top right corner. Because first of all, it's not focusing on the glass, then it's not focusing on the beer glass, it's focusing at a very strange point, at the sugar or salt. It is doing a really good job with backlight, as you can see over here. It all looks pretty sharp, it's in focus, it just looks pretty good. And if you compare it to the Xiaomi Mi 9X picture, it has a lot of lens flare, it misses some contrast and sharpening, and it just doesn't look as appealing to the eye as with the previous image with the OnePlus 7 Pro. Now if you enable the wide angle lens, you can take even closer pictures than with the standard lens. You can take some really nice macro shots. And what I've noticed is that with the Mi 9 you can go closer to the subject than on the OnePlus 7 Pro, albeit it's just a couple of centimeters. If we're gonna take a picture indoors, then you can see that the OnePlus 7 Pro has a more lively image, it has more details, and it just doesn't look as soft as on the Xiaomi Mi 9. And as mentioned before, in this case, you can clearly see that again, the OnePlus 7 Pro prefers to have like a cooler color temperature than the Mi 9, which is more into the warmer colors. Now if you're going to take a bokeh picture or portrait picture, it's the opposite, because on the OnePlus 7 Pro it's for sure a bit warmer, the whole image, but also the focus is not always correct, and in this case it is soft, it doesn't have the fine detail, while on the Mi 9 it just looks so much better. Just the face is a little bit more pale, but that is something that we can just impose easily as well. On the other hand, if we have enough light and you take a picture with the OnePlus 7 Pro, it looks really nice. The blurry background is all managed really well, but the colors could pop a little bit more, but on the Xiaomi Mi 9 you can definitely see that they added too much contrast. And that is also with high contrast images. So for example, this is Nyla, and you can clearly see that the Mi 9 is struggling with a lot of backlight, while on the 7 Pro it's really well managed with the 2 lenses. With selfie pictures we see the exact same happening as on the rear camera. The pictures on the OnePlus 7 Pro are a little bit too bluish, while on the Mi 9 it has a more accurate white balance. And also if we zoom in at 400%, you can see that both phones, they struggle with the portrait and the lines around my ear. And if we take a selfie picture with a horizontal layout, then I really like the OnePlus 7 Pro its picture, but I do slightly like the Mi 9 its picture more, even though it's a little bit more cropped, but the background is a little bit more blurry, so the focus becomes a little bit more on you. Now before we continue with the low light shots on the OnePlus 7 Pro and the Xiaomi Mi 9, I would like to ask you to subscribe to the channel, and also don't forget to click the bell icon so you get notified whenever there's a new video posted. And now that we have that out of the way, the results for low light pictures are sometimes very similar but also sometimes very different. And in this case I took the worst of the worst light conditions because that really shows the true nature of the camera. Now, and in this case you can clearly see that the OnePlus 7 Pro is the winner over the Xiaomi Mi 9. And especially if you turn on the night mode or the nightscape on the OnePlus 7 Pro, you can clearly see the difference between the two. They're not bad photos at all, it's really poor with the light conditions, but overall I do like the OnePlus 7 Pro more. In one case I do like the Xiaomi Mi 9 more, and that's with the night mode if there's a really, like a little bit more light than when you have really poor light. And that you can clearly see with this mirror over here. It looks more pleasing to the eye than on the OnePlus 7 Pro, which has this, again, bluish tone over the image. Like the image is a little bit too cool in my honest opinion. Now the same is happening with the selfies. You can see that the OnePlus 7 Pro tries to increase the highlights to make your face brighter, but it also increases the amount of noise. While on the Xiaomi Mi 9 it looks a little bit darker, but it corresponds more to the environment that you're in a poor and low light condition. So far you've seen both phones performing in all kind of conditions, but I also want you to be the judge around today, so let's vote up over here which one do you think is the winner, or if you want to elaborate your answer a little bit, let's go to the comment section down below. I'm always very active down there, so let's have a nice discussion going on. Now it's time to go to the video, and both record of course in 4K video, but there's quite a difference between the two, so let's check it out. So here we have some footage with the OnePlus 7 Pro and the Xiaomi Mi 9, and we did a little stabilization test while running / walking, and here's a little microphone test. And let's do some panning, because with the Huawei devices that I had in the past and also with Xiaomi a little bit, there was a bit of panning stutter, and it's difficult to determine by looking at the screen right now if it has, but I'll tell you in the review. Now, from my point of view, the OnePlus 7 Pro is experiencing more panning stutter than on the Mi 9. And if you take a look at my dock over here, you can clearly see that the OnePlus is doing a better job than the Mi 9, where all the colors are like a little bit washed. Focus. So regarding the focus, both phones, they do a really good job. I feel that the OnePlus 7 Pro is sometimes a little bit slower with finding the correct focus, and also the dynamic range on the Mi 9 is a little bit better, because you can see that in the sky it becomes more visible than on the OnePlus 7 Pro. So here we have it, the selfie footage with the OnePlus 7 Pro and Xiaomi's Mi 9, and as you can see there's just a huge difference between the two, and the footage is of course handheld, and that's not the only difference between the two. The other one is the light that is reflecting on my skin. It's really sharp, and also it's pretty dark in the room itself, so the situation with the light is very difficult, and therefore you can clearly see that there's a huge difference between the two. And of course I like the more brighter image from the OnePlus 7 Pro, but in terms of details and the amount of noise, it is tricky between the two. So let me know in the comment section down below which one do you prefer more, the OnePlus 7 Pro or the Xiaomi Mi 9. So as you just heard, the audio with the OnePlus 7 Pro is just terrible, and it's only happening with the selfie camera, and I have no clue why OnePlus didn't fix this yet. Just like with all the other footage, we have a huge difference in color temperature here as well. The Mi 9 looks a little bit more yellowish, while on the OnePlus 7 Pro it looks a little bit too cool compared to the environment that we're in, a low light situation with pretty warm lights. In terms of focus, they both do a very similar job. It's only on the Xiaomi Mi 9 that you can see that the image stabilization is having some troubles in low light conditions. Other than that, I think the results are pretty similar for a low light condition. So that is it, the camera comparison between the OnePlus 7 Pro and Xiaomi's Mi 9. And sometimes there is a huge difference between the two, but sometimes the differences are also very minimal. Anyways, let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Is the winner over here? I think it's very difficult to say, but sometimes it's a bit more easy, so I want you to be the judge around, because basically you're doubting. I love both phones, but that is my personal opinion, and maybe you find photos more important than video. And in the end, I can't look into your wallet because this one is of course completely differently priced than the OnePlus 7 Pro. Now both phones deliver great results, don't get me wrong over here, but I also think that there's still a lot of room for improvement. And in the end, it's up to you to decide which one you're gonna go for, because we've discussed everything in quite a bit of detail, which one you might find more interesting. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to give the video a like, subscribe if you haven't already, and then I hope to see all of you in the next one.